Joining us now is House Judiciary Chairman himself, the great Jim Jordan. Jim, thanks for being on the show.
So, Jim,
we know that big tech has censored the COVID-19 debate online. We also know that Meta censored the Hunter Biden laptop story prior to the 2020 election. You've worked with Meta. Do you think that Meta is going to continue to censor? Do you have faith that Americans are going to be able to have a fair debate as we go into this election?
Well, I feel better about it, that the fact that Mark Zuckerberg admitted basically four things. He said, as you pointed out, that the Biden-Harris administration pressured them to censor. They, in fact, did censor. Third, they throttled back the Hunter Biden laptop story literally 2.5 weeks before the most important election we have, the election of President of the United States. And then he also said in his letter that no more Zuckerbucks. He's not going to spend money at these certain boards of elections, certain locations around the country, which I think all four of those are good news. And the fact that he confirmed all that literally 60-some days before our presidential election, I think is good news, because who knows what they were going to try this year. But the fact that they're now admitted to it, I think it's less likely they do the censorship that they did before. And I think this is, again, one of the key issues in this campaign. The Republican Party is the party of free speech, protecting your First Amendment right to speak out on political issues. The Democrat Party is the party of censorship. That's why Tulsi Gabbard, that's why RFK Jr. endorsed President Trump, because they know our party is the party that will protect your liberties and protect your right to speak.
No doubt. An overlapping theme here is the FBI, right? So the FBI was putting pressure or giving notice to Meta that there could be some Russian disinformation that comes out about the Bidens and maybe Burisma. So the FBI is also responsible now for doing the investigation in regard to the Trump assassination. Christopher Wray came out and said, testifying before Congress, that he wasn't quite sure it could have been a shrapnel or a bullet that hit Donald Trump's ear. Later on, the FBI came out and said, no, it was a bullet. And now they're telling us that they're not quite sure about the motivation behind the shooter of Donald Trump. Do you have faith that the FBI is a fair actor, a fair player, as they do the investigation on Donald Trump and are responsible for enforcing the laws in this country?
Well, I mean, I hope so. But you're right. I think the Americans are right to be skeptical. I mean, this is the FBI who said if you're a parent going to a school board meeting, you need to be investigated. This is the FBI that said that, pro-life Catholics were extremists. This is the FBI that can't tell us who planted the pipe bombs, who leaked the Dobbs decision, can't tell us who put cocaine at the White House. So, you're a little nervous about all that. And then when you add to it what you just described, Sean, which is in the run-up to the 2020 race, they did this pre-bunking of the laptop story, basically telling big tech, be on the lookout for a Russian information operation. Knowing that they had the laptop, knowing the laptop was real, they sort of got everything ready, and then they were able to throttle back the story, as we talked about. So, yeah, I'm a little concerned, but we have a task force that's been put together by the Speaker. Let's hope they will dig into it and get to the facts on what happened on July 13th.
What concerns me, and I got to serve with you in the House, we both know the power of money, but we also know the problems around using money as leverage in the Congress. But the fact that the Congress, controlled by Republicans, that controls the purse strings, continues to fully fund the FBI. There's a plan to build them a new headquarters. And they, again, you talk about a two-way street. There's one set of rules for Republicans. There's a different set of rules for Democrats. And Republicans continue to fund them. I think a lot of Americans sit back and scratch their head to go, why did I elect you Republicans? What are you guys going to do to contain the FBI?
Yeah, well, look, I voted against providing funding for a new headquarters. I voted to make sure that voted for the language we offered as an amendment. We lost on a tie vote, which would have said if you're going to go search the FISA database, you're going to search this database and use Sean Duffy's name, his phone number, his email address, you got to go get a warrant, for goodness sake. That's how our constitutional system works. So unfortunately, we lost that on a tie vote. But yeah, we got to fight harder for these fundamental liberties. I think something that stuck with me this past week, Sean, on this First Amendment right, your right to speak, which I argue is the most important liberty we have. Because if you can't speak, you can't practice your faith, you can't share your faith, you don't have a free press, you can't petition your government. I mean, it's the most fundamental liberty we have. RFK Jr. said something great when he endorsed President Trump. He says, when you look at history, the good guys aren't the ones who were for censorship. And that is so true. And right now, we have a major political party who is for censoring the other side, under the guise of disinformation, misinformation, all this jargon. It's wrong, and this issue is critical, and I think in 65 days the American people are going to understand that. and they're going to vote for President Trump because they know he's the guy who will defend their right to speak.
You know, Congressman, it's not just free speech, which is incredibly important as we go into this election season, but it's also the lawfare that's been used against Donald Trump, right? This sham conviction in New York City. Judge Merchan was the judge in that case. Sentencing comes on September 18th. You've continued the investigation to look at Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren, who is a political activist who works in politics for Democrats. You sent her a letter requesting information. Have you received a response to your request for information, and what do you hope to learn?
Well, we sent them 2 letters. We got no response really, other than they said, "Oh, we don't really have any information." And the information we do have that responds to your request, we don't think you're entitled to that, which is garbage. So we sent them a subpoena last week. We'll see what they do. I hope they will send us the information. There are 9 million reasons why we need this, why we think it's appropriate we have this information, because that's what this company run by Judge Merchan's daughter got paid from Harris and Biden's campaign back in 2019, 2020. And we want to know what's been going on in 23 and 24. So that's why we sent the letter. We've seen the behavior of Judge Merchan. For goodness sake, he put a gag order on President Trump. It still exists there. He wouldn't let the expert on campaign finance testify at the trial. And the sentencing is coming up here in just a few weeks. So we want this information. We've sent a subpoena. We'll see if they give it to us.
When you say you're not entitled to the information, Congressman, that means they have information in conversations between whether it's Judge Merchan or the Democrat Party in regard to this conviction of Donald Trump. Because if nothing was there, they're like, listen, we'll give you what we have, Congressman, and we have nothing. Here it is. But when they don't do that, that's the problem. I want to quickly turn, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to turn to the southern border. We've learned that there's over 300,000 children that have been lost at the southern border. Kamala Harris is the border czar. She's talking a big game now, like she wants border security, maybe even a wall. But I think you and I both know that she's had 3.5 years to secure the border. And again, Democrats have long talked about the plight of children at the southern border, even AOC crying at kids in cages at the border. None of them have come to the defense of the 300 children lost plus at the southern border. I don't know if the House can do anything, but what do we do to get those kids back, make sure that they're safe? Because I have to imagine many of them are in sex slavery or they're indentured servitude in work, but their plight cannot be good.
No, 10 million migrants have entered the country in the Biden-Harris administration. 300,000 young people they can't account for. 99 individuals who've come into the country who were on the terrorist watch list that they did not detain, that they released into the country, and they just made the border czar their nominee. This is how bad it is. I think this issue is front of mind for the American voter and is going to play a big role in this election. President Trump secured our border, and in 4 years' time, we went from a secure border to no border. That just is so obvious, I think, to the country. And this problem is across the nation now, not just in border states and border communities. It's across the nation. When you have 10 million on pace to get to 12. I tell people that's the equivalent of the entire population of our state, Ohio. We're the 7th largest state in the country. 12 million migrants entering your country in a 4-year time frame. And again, as I said, they made the border czar their nominee. I think that's going to be a key issue for the American people, and why, again, I think President Trump is going to win in 65 days.
It's pretty tough to run on the economy and the border, the 2 top issues for the American voter, when you're Kamala Harris. Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, thanks for being with me. We appreciate you joining in Sunday Morning Futures. Thank you.